Okay, so again, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the review for today. I'm going to do 3 of them, and then you're going to do the other 3 on your own, and we'll go over the answers before we take the quiz tomorrow. Your quiz tomorrow will only be 4 questions, but they will look very similar to the ones here. I gave you a little extra than what you'll get on the quiz. Okay? After the quiz, you will have a worksheet that you will have to get started with. So, let's go over some of these problems. For number 1, that's the one I'm going to do first, is y equals x squared minus 4x minus 10. Can somebody please raise their hand and tell me what the first step is for this problem? Yes, Aisha. You could add 10 to both sides, assuming y is 1 all at once. That's the shortcut part we learned. Can somebody tell me what this next part would be? What do I do once I have it at this point, Colin? Nope. You make your box. There we go. What can I put in this box? Yes. So I can put x squared, which I know means x times x. And what do I come up with for the other boxes? Half of negative 4, which gives me negative 2x and negative 2x. So then I have negative 2 and negative 2. And negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So then I do what with that information? Add 4 to both sides of my equation. Good. So I get 14 equals, and then instead of the standard form, I'm going to put the factored form. What is that? Yes, Layton? X minus 2 squared. And I knew that from my box right over there. What is my next step, ladies and gentlemen? All right, Laisha, where's my next step? Nope, before that. There you go. Square root both sides, and we get the square root of 14 equals x minus 2, and then we did what Asia told us to do next, which was to add 2 to both sides. So 2 is plus or minus the square root of 14 equals x. So I'm going to ask you the same questions each time we come to the end. How many answers are there? 1 or 2? 2, and you know because of the plus or minus, right? Is it a real root or imaginary roots? Real, and how do you know? There's no negative under the square root sign. Okay. Anybody have a question about this before I move on to the next problem? You have a question? Yeah.
Do you always have half of negative, like in the middle?
Half of the middle, always. That's a good question. Okay, let's go to number 4. So I'm going to go all the way down to number 4. Y equals x squared plus 2x minus 1. Yes, Tom.
I put 1 at y.
And do I keep it still over here?
No.
Good. Okay, what is my next step? What do we do, guys? Everybody should know at this point what we do together. What am I going to make? Box. Good. Okay. What am I putting in this box? We know the x squared always goes right here, so we know we have x and x. What's half of 2? 1. 1x and 1x. So I'm going to put 1 here and 1 here. What's 1 times 1? What am I going to do with this new information? I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I get 2 equals, I'm not going to put standard form, I'm going to put the factored form. And I got it right over there from that box. What is my next step? Yes, Elijah? Square root. So I get the square root of 2 equals x plus 1. Can somebody tell me the last step? I know more than Asia knows the last step, and Asia knows how to do this now. Anybody else?
Minus 1.
Thank you, Jasmine. Subtract 1. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 2 equals x. How many roots are there? 1 or 2?
2.
2. Are they imaginary or real? Real.
How do you know if they're
If under the square root sign you have a positive number, they're real. If it is a negative number, it's imaginary. So right here, I look right under the square root sign. Since that is a positive number, you have real roots. If it's a negative number, it's imaginary. Yes, Les? Okay, since it has this plus or minus, you know you have 2. So it's negative 1 plus the square root of 2 and negative 1 minus the square root of 2. And if you put this in your calculator, you get 2 decimals. And so you know those 2 places are where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? All right. Let's do one more. Which one do you want to do, 5 or 6?
5.
Or 6.
Yes.
How is the bottom answer a circle? How is it negative when you just subtracted 1?
Because you're not subtracting 1 from 2. You're subtracting 1 from the square root of 2. And since it's plus or minus, we just leave it on the outside. Okay? Because we did not actually perform this operation here. We only did it on this side. This one, we left it. You could plug it into your calculator, and you would get 2 decimal answers. But negative 1 plus the square root of 2 and negative 1 minus the square root of 2 is never going to be like 2 minus 1 because it's got that square root sign over it. Okay, so here's the question. 5 and 6 are about equally as hard, except 6 has a little extra with that negative in front of it. So I would rather do 6. So that's the one I'm going to do, but remember, we're going to go over these before you take your quiz tomorrow anyways, but you just have to do the other 3. So I'm going to do 6. Feel free, you guys. I did not leave you enough room to do 5 and 6 on the same page. Feel free to turn it over and do 6 on the back. Okay. That's what I would do. Y equals negative x squared minus 5x minus 6. What is our first step? Yes? Add 6. So we get 6 equals negative x squared minus 5x. I'm sorry, Jasmine, were you asking me a question?
Yeah, are we going to do it by ourselves?
You are going to do number 5, 2, and 3 on your own. What do I do next, guys?
You got a negative 1.
You take out a negative 1. And then what do I do? Make a box. What do I put in that box? Okay, which gives me x and x. And what else? 2.5, because that's half of 5. So this is 2.5, and this is 2.5. What is 2.5 times 2.5? Yes, Jasmine, I'm sorry.
Where did that negative 1 come from?
Since this has, we have a negative here and here. You know that a negative times a negative can never make a positive, right?
Right.
But these two have to be the same. So I can't have a negative in front of the x squared, otherwise they wouldn't be the same. So I took out a negative from both of them. So taking out a negative is the same thing as factoring out a negative 1. So that's where it came from.
So my difference also?
Only if they have a negative in front of x squared.
Oh!
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so what's 2.5 times 2.5?
0.25.
6.25. So what do I do with that? I add it to both sides. And I get 12.25 equals negative 1 times x squared plus, oops, I don't want to put all of that. Say it again, Elijah. Thank you. What do I do now? Divide negative 1. Good. Then what do we do? Square root. Good. And what's my final step? Subtract 2.5. Okay, this is the same answer every time, but how many roots are there? 1 or 2? 2, because you've got a plus sign and a minus sign. So there's going to be 2 different problems. Is it real or imaginary? And how do you know? There's a negative under the square root sign. Okay? 3 problems to work on. You've got the rest of the hour. Okay? If you finish this before the hour, that's great. But what I want you to do for homework then is to rewrite these problems on a separate sheet of paper. Put this paper away. Try the new problems. And then see if you got the right answers. Okay? That's my strong suggestion for studying. Do you got a question, Keisha?
Are you going to give us answers before this?
Yeah, you can check your answers when you're finished, but I want you to try the other 3 on your own before you leave.
No, I'm saying, you said on another piece of paper, you talking about these same problems?
I think you should take those same problems, just write the problems down on a piece of paper, try them again, and then see if you got the right answers. You could also do that with completing the square level 1, 2, or 3. Write down the problems again, try them again, and see if you got the right answers as long as you corrected your answers. Just some of them. Not all of them. I might go through and go, okay, which ones were the hardest for me to do or Miss Murphy had to show me on the board because I couldn't get it at all? Try those on your own, and then see if you got the right answer. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, let's get started.